So hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 League of Women Voters of Moscow Candidate Forums. My name is Kylie Brightsman, and I'm on the board of the League of Women Voters of Moscow. We're starting tonight with the mayoral candidates, and tomorrow's forum will feature the city council candidates. We want to remind everyone that with the number of candidates and the amount of time we have, we can't get to all of the questions that were submitted, but we strongly encourage all of you to reach out to these candidates that you'll see tonight with your questions. We view this as the beginning of the conversation and hope that you get to know more about the candidates tonight and then follow up more after the event. In addition to the League's two forums, KRFP is also holding live call-in candidate forums on the radio next week, and they are also streaming this event live as well as tomorrow's forum. Our questions for tonight have been collected by email, and we also welcome questions in the Q&A function if you're watching on Zoom, and if we can get it to work on Facebook, you can ask questions on there as well. We also want to remind everyone that the League of Women Voters of Moscow has put together the Vote 411 resource, and this can be found at vote411.org, and all of the candidates have submitted responses to the questions. So we invite you to use this great resource. The format for tonight will be a 2-minute introduction by each candidate. Then our moderator will ask a series of questions and we'll conclude with a 1-minute summary from each candidate. And for those questions, candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. I'm very excited to introduce our moderator for tonight, Professor Richard Seaman of the University of Idaho College of Law. I will now turn it over to him for candidate introductions, and thank you again for attending tonight's event.
Welcome, everybody. I'm happy you're here, and I appreciate the League of Women Voters sponsoring this session tonight. Without further ado, I'm going to let the candidates introduce themselves. They will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement, and to begin with, I suppose we'll go in alphabetical order. So, Mr. Bettge, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. Appreciate that. It turns out Moscow is the town that most appealed to me. It was a fine place when I rolled in here back in 1972, a small semi-rural agricultural town, but I loved it for the climate. I loved it for the feel of the town, the atmosphere the citizens provided. And it's still a great town today. It's even better, actually. We've transited from an agricultural town, a few grain silos downtown, a whiff of ammonia blowing through the breeze. And now we're changed over into more of a research university type of situation. Why am I running? I really want to finish some of the projects that have been instituted over the past several years. And I'd like to initiate a few of the projects of my own that I know we have waiting in the wings. So I really want to get the airport completed. That's a project that still requires some work and some hard negotiation with our partners, our 2 counties, Whitman and Latah, 2 universities, Washington State University, University of Idaho, and the 2 cities, Moscow and Pullman. We need to work with them to finish the airport to provide us with the connection we need to bolster commerce and industry here in town, which has the effect of broadening our economic base. And once that base broadens, of course, we need to launch into some of the newer initiatives, things like more workforce housing. We have a great shortage of housing here in town, and we need to expand that considerably in order to accommodate a broader economic base. Further, with that, we need to address issues of water. Where are we going to get additional water? And that's something that I really want to get rolling as soon as possible. We've worked on water for research for 25 years. We have projects waiting in the wings. We just have to decide on one and get it going. And beyond that, we need to do some work to mitigate our impact on the climate. And the city can do this. And we hope that we can bring others in town along with us. The
Mr.
city
Bettge, your 2 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
That was fast. You're welcome.
I know they fly by quickly. Mr. Gray, next to you.
Okay, well, James Gray here, or Jim Gray. And well, I moved to Moscow 2004, and my wife is a Pullman native, I guess you could say. She grew up there, and when I moved here, I wasn't sure about anything, and as I became more and more familiar with the people and the area, I just fell in love with the area. And the people are some of the friendliest people I've had ever met. Being retired out of the military myself, and I've been to a variety of small towns since I was in the Coast Guard. And things that I was concerned about is transparency in all things, because there are decisions made without the input of a lot of any of the city members for that matter. And I would like to see more happen in that regard. And and a problem I've noticed in the city is, like us, we had a forum at the high school last week, and I brought up the notion of selective respect, and there's a lot of that going on in this community right now, and where people are having a bad relationship with others, but they don't even know the others. And so I wonder how we're going to deal with this, and how I figure we deal with it is that have parties,
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
like block parties. Is it gone?
Thank you, Mr. Gray. 2 minutes
Okay.
is up. Ms. Moses, you're next. Thank you.
Thank you. I was born and raised here in Moscow. I went to school here, got my undergraduate degree and my master's degree in public administration here at the U of I. And I'm running for a lot of the same reasons that the other folks here are running. There's a sense of making sure that a lot of long-term projects to help with climate, to help protect our working families and help bolster health in our citizens are protected. There's been a lot of talk about selective respect, and I see how that manifests in things like candidate forums where people dismiss the existence of AIDS, or they dismiss the importance of washing hands. And I think what we need is a conversation that is removed from, and here comes the third topic, fear. That's been a big one we've heard. And I think that the fear which causes people to look at what's going on around them, anything that's going on around them, and just assume it's out to get them and assume that it's scary. That's toxic. Scary and fearful, yes, but it's toxic, and it is undermining. It's undermining our sense of community. And I'd like to be able to have a chance to address that with my experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun, your opening statement, please.
I was born and raised in Moscow. I love Moscow. I'm not fleeing to California if things go bad here. Like all the Californians are coming here, but I think that that government should work for the residents and empower individual responsibility. I think that we need to get a broader business base here. I would like to make a thriving community and make it easier to open and maintain businesses and bring in some maintenance or some manufacturing jobs. And I think that Moscow is an awesome community that is worth investing in.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun, I think I'll go in reverse alphabetic order, and actually this kind of segues, this first question segues, I think, nicely from something you just said. This is actually a three-part question. So you may want to, everyone may want to keep the three parts in their head. The first part is, what is the role of government? And that might be specific to city government. The second part is, what do you regard as the primary responsibility of the office that you are seeking? as mayor? And third, what is a life experience that you think has prepared you to take on this role? Ms. Rathbun, again, if we can start with you, I'd appreciate it, please.
Guess I gotta unmute. The role of government, I believe, is to protect our rights and kind of help the community government in particular, to kind of help the community resolve and balance issues, and to help the community take care of the issues that need taken care of, like plowing roads and getting to the bottom of water issues, traffic issues, such and so forth. And let's see, what responsibility does government have? I think was the next question. And I think the responsibility that government has, or was it the office of the mayor? I think it was the
Office of the mayor. It was specifically asking about the office of the mayor. Thank you for the chance to
So
clarify.
I think the responsibility of the office of mayor is to communicate with businesses and residents and get to the bottom of what is needed to be done and what the issues are. And well, I'll leave it at that for now. For life experience, I think that my life experience is that I was born and raised here, and I know a lot of the issues that have gone on and what is capable of being done and what is not being done. And I think that I have an ability to bring together a team and to motivate people and to well, I have a lot of determination to get to the issues that I feel need to be taken care of, which is mostly that we need to get back to community government and take care of the residents.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Ms. Rathbun, we got a request from a member of the audience. If you can see, you're a bit in the dark. If you have any lighting change you can make, that would be great. Ms. Moses, you're next.
Thank you. So I think the role of government is to provide, a legislative and legal body, an apparatus to be able to administer this shared process of governance, which is more this soft subject, this us coming together as a community, which brings into what is the role of a mayor? In Moscow, the mayor has this wonderful gift and lofty responsibility to be able to call forth reports from department heads, as well as to be able to bring issues to the forefront in the city council conversation. And so they can kind of act as an in-between between the apparatus of government and the people, the governance processes. And something that, an experience that prepares me for this, my work in the last 3 years in co-founding and working with Food Not Bombs, working with several different communities and cities and community leaders, working day to day with local business owners and counselors from other towns to consider regional responses to these problems, because that's also the role of a mayor and the government, to think about how we can be a good neighbor.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, you're next.
Well, the role of government, as far as I am concerned, is to serve the people. And serving the people takes on the role of, as far as the city is concerned and the mayor is concerned, it will be the core services of the city, be they water, be they the law enforcement, refuse or whatever. That's the role of government in my mind, because we are a Democrat, not a Democratic Republic, but a I can't think of it. But anyway, we're not a democracy per se. We are a republic. And as far as the mayor is concerned, the role of mayor is to also serve the people and to let the people know what's going on in the city, bring the people into the confines of the government, and have them have a voice in making the decisions of what's going on. Life expectancy, I'm retired out of the Coast Guard. I've led people. We've worked on various projects in the military, and yeah, one of the things I've done is mediation for between supervisors and individuals because of it was equal opportunity EEOC, who I was part of as well, and working with EEOC and mediating the different problems that people have. I figured that the role of mayor is not much different than running a gang of men and women to do a job and mediating. After having done it for 10 years, I don't feel that would be a problem. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Bettge.
Yeah, the fundamental role. I got muted back again. The fundamental role of any municipality is the provision of essential services to the citizens for which they pay through their taxes and fees. That's water, sewer, police, fire, streets, things like that. But beyond that, a municipality should also be working to address issues of a sense of place and provide the citizens with a feel that they actually live in the community. And part of that devolves onto the responsibilities of a mayor, who is there to provide an atmosphere of non-discrimination and optimism that allows people to see where the city can go and help follow to generate a city that reaches higher and goes further. The mayor also needs to identify issues that lay ahead and work with its other partners regionally and across the state to address those. The mayor also supervises the city staff in order to implement the policies as described by the city council. The mayor essentially is there as a CEO to implement policies of council as iterated by the citizens to the council. And as for my life experiences, I was in the Peace Corps in Niger, in Africa, and I've seen all kinds of ways where government does not work and should not work. I've followed that up with 10 years on Planning and Zoning Commission, 7 of those years as the chairman, and subsequently 8 years here on City Council. So these experiences set me up for running the local government, but I'm also a member of the Association of Idaho Cities, which lobbies the state legislature on behalf of municipalities in the state of Idaho to mitigate issues that are deleterious to those cities or to congratulate them for doing something right upon occasion.
Thank you very much. Next question, I'll start with Ms. Moses, if you don't mind. This is a question about the issue of water. Moscow recently annexed hundreds of acres of farmland for development, while the Grand Ronde aquifer continues to decline. Should local government have secured an alternative water supply first? Why or why not?
Great question. From the reports I've read, I definitely see that there would have been some major advantages to securing an alternative water source first. I would like to take a moment to say, having worked with water and soil scientists, my hat is off to you all. I will do my best to follow your lead, and thank you for explaining things to me. So in that capacity, I think it would have been better as far as a sense of kind of prudent decision-making. As we're looking at expansion in this town, as we're looking at limited water and the quality of water we have now, and our neighbors facing water crises, I think that that would have been a sound part of developing, again, a regional strategy towards water sustainability and water planning.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, would you go next, please?
Well, the aquifer is being depleted. That's only normal and natural, considering the use of the people. Now, as far as alternate water source, if it's a river source, then I would have a problem with, primarily because of the cost involved with bringing the water here. That's what I've heard that. Well, not even I've heard that one of the individuals who do the works on the technology and conservation out at for the aquifer, he was saying how much it would cost to have the water, above ground water, come into Moscow. Now, what I was thinking about earlier was constitutional republic, and there have been issues. It was talking about AIDS earlier, and I want to make everybody clear that it was in a paper that I had something to do with AIDS. I don't have an issue with AIDS or counterfeited, because I've had male members who've died from AIDS, and I've had people who've was very sick, but they recovered. So AIDS is an existing thing.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Ms. Rathbun, would you go next, please?
Well, I don't think we could have stopped the development that got brought into the city. I don't think we could have stopped that. Yeah, we have a serious water concern that's going on. I've heard some various things about what the plans are. It's going to be interesting to watch their meeting in a couple of days. I think it's too bad that Moscow did not develop the water reservoir off Moscow Mountain. Like about a dozen years ago, they increased our taxes, and it with the intention of making a water reservoir off Moscow Mountain, and it would have been cheaper back then, and it would have been better back then. But unfortunately, the city mismanaged that money and mismanaged that project, and that project has not happened. And I called the adjudication people when we had the Palouse River Basin adjudication, and I asked them, well, one of the things that they told me was that Moscow had not applied for water rights for that reservoir. So they never intended to bring in, that reservoir. It's my understanding. And so I don't know, I have a hard time trusting that the municipal government is going to manage our programs and our money wisely in the future. One of the things that I've heard that they plan on doing is pumping surface water down into the aquifer, and that would be a very, very bad idea. I hope that does not happen. I hope.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bettge.
Yeah, back to should the city have developed an alternative water source before we annexed various subdivisions in? This is kind of a two-pronged question. One deals with the aquifer management and the management of water, and the other part of it revolves around land use law in the state of Idaho. But currently, we've got enough water in the reservoir under our feet to last perhaps 100 years, according to PBAC. This is no reason not to start on developing an alternative water source now. And to develop that source means that we need to begin work as soon as possible, because every year we don't do anything now means a year at the other end that is lost. So I'm not sure about Ms. Rathbun's assertions that we took $20, didn't do anything with it, and issues associated with that. But given that we do need to secure land rights, we need to build a dam, we need to pump the water over the hill, we need to get it back to Moscow where it can be used. This is a long-term project that we need to get started on now and not later. And it's fabulously expensive, so we need to secure granting money to accomplish the need. Relative to the subdivisions in the state of Idaho, a private landowner can do pretty much what they want with it. And to have it within the city somewhat mitigates the impact on the aquifer if we let development occur outside the city limits, where any development can occur unconstrained. So really, development has to occur by law, and we need to provide water going into the future. It's not an easy task, it's expensive, and we need to start that in the very near future of securing that water source.
Thank you very much. Ms. Moses, if you don't mind, I'll start with you now for this next question. What role, if any, do you think that the mayor has in ensuring a supportive and welcoming environment for underrepresented groups in our city? And what do you think this has to do with the health and prosperity of our city?
Oh, phenomenal question. Well, I think the mayor certainly serves as a face for the city to a certain extent, and has the opportunity to interact with the public like every other elected official. They have, I think, a specific responsibility, I will say. I think that everyone who's an elected leader has a responsibility to get to know what people are not currently part of the conversation and who needs to be added. And I think if the mayor is going to take kind of a lead, which I think they should, then they should be out there actively working with nonprofits in the area who focus on work targeted on groups who are underserved, and being able to really have an active advocacy role. Because, I mean, for me, I would like to think that Moscow is a town that advocates. We're a city of people who care, who rush to the aid of our neighbors and people inside our town and outside of it. And so that starts with the mayor in that way.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, would you field that one next?
Well, the mayor and interacting with those who are, I guess, less represented, if you will, in the city, then he really, that's the people need to interact with each other. The mayor, yeah, he has the job of trying to make sure that there's no discrimination, no things of this nature, and he has the Human Rights Commission here in town to help him with that venture. Now, I've been in towns, small towns and large cities, and smaller towns have less of a problem, in my experience, with minority issues. Now there are a few, but a lot of them are because the person or persons have a chip on their shoulder, and the mayor can't do anything about that. The people have to let the person know who has this problem that they are free to get along, free to enter whatever, free to interact with them and do the things that they need to do to accomplish the task that they need to accomplish, which is to work and help hopefully make this a better family environment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bettge, would you go next with that one?
Sure. The mayor is the one who sets the tone within the city, and the mayor needs to project optimism, confidence, and the fact that in Moscow, discrimination is not permitted, not allowed, and certainly not tolerated. The mayor needs to work with staff to assure that this is carried out, needs to work with the police to make sure that community policing activity is what the citizens can and should expect from a police force. The mayor needs to go out and foster communication, because the city cannot know where the problems lie if people don't have the confidence to come up to the city, to the mayor, to the city council, and present their concerns and their troubles that they perceive is a problem with discrimination. Also, if Moscow becomes known for a place of non-discrimination tolerance, it brings very capable employees to town, people who might not otherwise show up in a place where discrimination is tolerated. And if we want to grow economically, we need to bring in the best employees possible. And that includes a wide diversity of people who need to be free of discrimination in order to best thrive and complement the nature of the city.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun, you're next.
I would want to be out talking to people and getting involved in things and finding out what is going on and just trying to balance out things kind of in a background sort of way. And if there was a actionable issue going on, then we should definitely be getting involved in that in a more aggressive way. But I believe that community government is about resolution and balance in the community.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, if you don't mind, I'll start with you for this next question concerning traffic. Many people have noted worsening traffic in Moscow. For instance, how important is it to keep 3rd Street and 6th Street residential and not a truck route? Others have asked if there should be a 4-way stop at 3rd and Hayes. How will you resolve the tension between growth and maintaining safety and walkability? What intervention do you advise and who will pay for it? Thank you.
Well, for one, I must apologize for my stuttering, if you will. I was told that the League of Women Voters were tough, and I think you've got me a little nervous. But in any event, I would have to get in touch with those who are, that's their job. They do that for a living, to see if what can be done and what they recommend to be done. Now, there's a lot of things that are have been done that I called into question, but that's neither here nor there. But it's to get the traffic moving in town, we need to better serve we just need to better serve the people. And doing what we're doing now is just not working.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun, would you take on that next?
Traffic is a real problem in Moscow. And in my opinion, Jim sounds pretty good. This is kind of nervous. But traffic is a real problem in Moscow. When I was younger, oh man, years ago, the traffic lights were timed differently. And in downtown in particular, you had the opportunity to make a left-hand turn at the end of the light. It would stop the traffic that was coming at you and you could make a left-hand turn. And those intersections now, the light changes the same time. And there's, as my understanding, there's a lot of accidents at these intersections. We need to go back to letting people make a left-hand turn. And it was timed a lot different in the downtown in general. You could make a loop around Washington and Jackson. If you went 20 miles an hour, you'd hit green lights all the way. Well, back then also, we had 2 lanes going down 3rd Street towards Pullman. One story that I want to quickly relate is about 4 years ago, the power went out in downtown Moscow, and it took out all of the traffic lights at the major intersections, including the complicated one there where Lewiston and Troy Highway meet up. And there was no cops in sight, and everybody's just started using the 4-way stop, or just started using the intersection as a 4-way stop. And traffic moved way smoother without those traffic lights. So there is something definitely going on. Usually traffic is backed up to Gritman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bettge, would you go next, please?
Sure. First off, I want to point out that the traffic lights in Moscow, with the exception of the one at Beacon and 6th and Main and 6th, belong to Idaho Transportation Department, and the city has no control over how these lights work. So if there's an issue with timing, it belongs to ITD and not Moscow. Four-way stops at 3rd and Hayes. It is a consideration. Stop signs are usually dictated by traffic counts, and when traffic counts and delays achieve a certain level, then four-way stops go in or other traffic mitigation measures. As for keeping trucks and other traffic off of 3rd and 6th to keep them in a residential field, that's a really hard one because of Moscow's topography. Trying to get around town sometimes is very, very difficult. The solution there would be a bypass off to the east or the west, but that impacts our county residents, and they're never too kind and happy to hear about there might be a bypass coming. But until that happens, we need to try to route as much traffic as possible on the existing Highway 8 and work with ITD to try to establish more lanes headed east on Highway 8 than exist right now. All the traffic, it would be nice to keep it off of the residential streets, but that's not always possible until we can get some more roads built, and roads are fabulously expensive, and we need to get grants or involvement from the Idaho Transportation Department or achieve more revenue sharing from the state government in order to make some traffic relief through town.
Thank you very much. Ms. Moses?
Thank you. I would also want to consult some expert folks on that, mostly the people living there at the corner of Hayes and 3rd. If they seem like a four-way intersection is a good thing to put in, it's an easy sign to take out, or a set of signs to take out. But I guess more to the concept of east-west corridors in Moscow being a serious concern and transportation of folks. I think that this ties into growth and ties into that safety question of how we're building our town, how we're developing communities, living communities, and how they have to travel through town, our educational institutions, our downtown, parking requirements, and things like that. And so I think as far as the question of how do we balance those and who will pay for it, Idaho Department of Transportation works with us. We have this interconnected web of both expertise sharing and cost sharing to make this happen. It's kind of a joint effort. Hopefully, like Art said, there will be grants available. But at the end of the day, it's really important to keep in mind if it's something that needs to happen, putting that at the forefront and figuring out creative ways to figure out the costs from there, because I know we can do that. Because the safety and safe growth that people feel like they can walk across the street in their neighborhoods or get across the street when they're going back from A&W. I don't know if anyone's tried to get across that highway anytime. Talk about almost near accidents there. So again, that east-west, people need to be safe. They need to be able to go to work and school and have a good time. And we'll figure out the burden of paying for that together. Thank
you very much. Ms. Moses, let me start off with you for this next question. It states there are a number of issues for the city to address. If you could choose a headline for your term in office, which says what you accomplished, what would that headline be? In other words, what do you want to be known for in this role?
It would be an honor to be known for the development of a regional resilience strategy to work with our partners in the nonprofit and for-profit sector and our fellow town companions, the people who count on us, whether it be for the vital food services that keep our people alive, or for sharing other vital things, spiritual services, otherwise, to be able to have an actual plan, a written strategic list of goals, to be able to work together on climate change issues as they come up, health issues. We see with COVID differences between town and town, even stopping at a gas station to refill on a delivery. This gas station, okay, masks, maybe not with the looks I'm getting. Why is there no conversation? Even just a basic conversation between towns on that. We have that opportunity. And if I were to be known for something, I would want to be known for the people, the elders, and the children in this whole regional community to feel like they have a bigger stake in it, to know they have a bigger stake in their community from this plan, a tangible thing that people can be held accountable to.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, what would you like to be known for? What would be the headline for your administration?
More transparency between the government and the people. And communication has to be open both ways to establish the things that need to be accomplished. Like we just talked about the highways. We talked about housing. We talked about water. But we need to interact with the people to accomplish these things. We can't just arbitrarily do them and not bring any of the people involved in making these decisions. I look at that as being willfully disrespectful to the people.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun?
I would be happy to make a thriving community where everyone has an opportunity and no one feels like they have to be dependent on government. I would love to see our community government value the freedom of the individual and property rights and just that people can control their own destinies. They can make their own choices in their lives. So we need to get back to that. We've seriously lost that. It's pretty much, if I'm going to keep it short, that's pretty much what I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bettge.
Daily News, Lewiston Morning Tribune, right there at the top. Moscow makes great strides in securing a supplemental water source in the very near future. To me, that's the big issue that's going to be looming over Moscow for the next 100, 200 years. And it's the best thing we can do to secure long-term stability and growth in our city is to get that supplemental water in over the hill and get it going. And that's what I would like to have for my headline.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun, I'll start with you this time, if you don't mind. This is a question about housing. The city invests heavily in economic development organizations, one of which initiated an assessment of available housing stock. Unsurprisingly, it concluded that Moscow needs additional affordable housing. Nonetheless, recently approved housing projects are far from affordable. What would you do as mayor to address that?
Well, I think it needs some in-depth looking into as to what we can do. I've seen a lot of apartment buildings going up over the years, and it never seems like the price of rent fluctuates at all. I'm not paying really close attention to it, but from what I hear from friends and people around me, is that rent is just consistently high, and I think that there's probably some things that are driving that problem. I don't know that. I don't know. I think it's going to be a complicated issue to fix, and so we need to get a lot of heads in the game, looking at things from different angles, and we need to try to fix these things. Having said that, though, we have issues coming at us from China right now that might massively impact Moscow and the U.S., especially in its realty market, in its real estate market. So that's got to pass through Japan and Europe right now, and then we'll have a good idea of what's coming at us. But we have some serious economic issues that are coming at us.
Thank you. Mr. Bettge, would you field that one next, please?
Sure. Workforce housing. You can't have economic development if you don't have people who are going to work in the developed economy. So providing housing, and I stray from the word housing and tend more toward dwelling units, because to achieve affordability, we have to change in our heads what housing is. So we can do things like cluster developments where houses are pushed closer together, less asphalt, less underground piping, things like that, reduces the cost of those dwelling units. Go for flat out density, more condos, twin homes, townhomes, things that minimize the use of land and maximize the use of residences. The city doesn't build or develop land for houses. What we can do is educate builders that alternatives to the traditional house on a quarter of an acre exist, and it can be profitable and will sell very well. So I think the city could do some more education with developers. But under our current system, we also have the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust, which essentially buys the land, which is a major component of cost in housing. And the person to be housed buys the actual developed area, which is the house itself, and the land remains with the Affordable Housing Trust. So the owner of the house can sell it for a profit later on, but the land remains with the housing trust and is part of the cost reduction for the house and keeps the house affordable because you can't elevate the price of the land with the cost of the improvements. It's a complicated scheme, but it works very well. And we have a very fine organization that takes care of those under a land trust model at the moment. And the city can do work to provide assistance to them.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, the question has to do with affordable housing. What would you do as mayor to address what's considered to be a lack of affordable housing in the city right now?
Well, there's not a whole lot, I guess you could say, the mayor can do except encourage those property managers to work with him to find a way that they will accept where they would lower the prices of their housing, be it apartments or rental homes and the like. But you know, as far as single family dwellings, they're going to continually go up because we're going to have a shortage. We already have a shortage, and there's shortage of supplies and the like, and those things are costly anymore. And to accommodate the need for affordable housing, you have to find a way to get those prices down, and you're not going to get them down anytime in the near future because of the shortages we're going through.
Thank you very much. Ms. Moses?
Thank you. So I do have a master's in public admin with a focus on local governments and nonprofits, but I will say, the thing is, I do kind of resent the implication that what the city is doing now is the best. Not to say that anyone's not trying as hard as them, we're just doing the thing. The thing is, other cities actively approach for-profit and nonprofit entities, groups like that work together, networks that build these like structures so that when they come into a community, not only is there housing, but they have access to that network of resources like food, like medical care, these structured networks. And we can call other cities. In my experience, other city administrators, other city officials, other city legislators are happy to talk about it, because I think when we talk about housing, indeed, the question often is, are we talking about housing or dwellings? I've been an apartment dweller, as most forms and bureaucracy would put it, for my adult life after I got out of the dorms. Like, are we talking about a Moscow for me to work in or for me to live in? Are we talking about one for the kids that I serve to be able to work at McDonald's and maybe be able to move away one day? What we need to talk about, if we're talking about the educational effects or whatever that the city can have to encourage people towards minimal housing, we passed, correct me if I'm wrong, zoning ordinance allowances for accessory dwellings. We can put up these tiny homes in your backyard, on your land. You want to demonstrate a quarter acre? Demonstrate your quarter acre. and I can come and build the house. Because if we're going to talk to people about what's dignified, we need to be leading the way. I've been on the board of Sojourners Alliance, transitional housing, for around 4 years. I have seen the changes in legislation. I have seen politicians come and go, and the issues stay the same. We can respond as individuals. And I think that the city can reach out, affect zoning, reach out to for-profit and nonprofit organizations. And again, if you need something built, I'd be happy to be there. I have some years of experience as a carpenter.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, I'll ask you to respond to this next question first. And the question has to do with climate change.
Not hearing you there, Richard.
Oh, am I muted? Are people hearing me? Try it
I can
again.
hear you.
Am I coming through now?
Well, I hear you.
Okay, all right. Mr. Gray, if I can start with you for this next question. A recent analysis by the city found that the largest sources of carbon emissions in Moscow are residential and commercial building and transportation. What action is your top priority to reduce our community's carbon emissions?
Well, for one, I would go into the older buildings that we have that we're still utilizing and evaluate their heating and cooling situation, so that see if it was feasible to bring down the idea of global warming in the city. But as far as as far as the mayor actually getting involved with climate change, for the most part, that's he can be a member of a team that works on that. I don't know if that was the case or not, but as far as the mayor doing it in and of himself, I don't see that as a possibility, because I don't think that's part of the duties of the mayor.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rathbun, to you next.
Well, all right, I'm going to get the hate from everybody. I think the science is still out there on climate change. And before I go forcing anybody to do anything, we need to get some settled science. And there is just too much out there on this side and that side. And of course, one side of the information gets suppressed. So I would be getting heads together, but not too soon. There is also, some of you might want to look into this. There is also the narrative that we are going into, or that we have started into, a grand solar minimum, where the Earth is going to be cooling down, and it will be a little harder to grow some of the crops. We'll have to, find different crops to grow, and so, which theory is correct? I do not know. We're going to burn up, or we're going to get colder. Like I say, the science is still out there as far as I'm concerned. And we can't just rely on green energy. I know that people really like green energy. And believe me, I started out liking green energy. I started out wanting to get solar panels and windmill. They used to have a funnel type windmill years ago that I was first hearing about, even before the regular windmills with the blades, which kill a lot of birds. And if everybody's going to drive a Tesla, that's going to overload our power grid. That's going to, and not to mention, most of the energy that's generated is coming from burning coal. I mean, you guys got to look into these things. That there is serious issues, and unfortunately, they don't get talked about.
Right, thank you very much. Ms. Moses, would you take that question next?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would agree in the sense that I do think there are things that are not talked about. I think that regardless of if they have a Trump flag or a respect everybody sign in their yard, my experience is people know when their appliances are taking too much electricity, because they can feel it, and they're aware. It costs money. People are aware that the thing is rumbling and it's old and it's about to die and it takes a lot of energy. I mean, I don't think this is lost on most people. I think that this is a politicized issue. And I think that because it's a politicized issue, because we have years of this being a politicized issue of just trying to get people help to find like a Vista help or other kinds of subsidies that are available for individual commercial, like individual homeowners or commercial folks like businesses, that they can help get subsidies to replace these things, and we could just talk to them about it. Because since it has been politicized, why don't we take the opportunity to depoliticize it as someone saying, hello, one thing that is political is that we all share this water, and we don't know how much is left, and we all have to share real nicely, and we got to really talk about that now. But I'm not going to tell you what to have in your house, but I can tell you can get some new ones, maybe for less cost. Isn't that great? I think that that's a real sensible start to cutting down the costs in some of these homes, because I think a lot of the folks who know about those rebate programs and trading them in have them. And when they trade out, those go on Craigslist and they go into some of the lower income homes that I serve. And again, they know they could use one that works better. We all know, and we all know that we can share the resources a bit better. So I think that the mayor should take an active role in just being able to talk about that simple acknowledgement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bettge.
Sure. I think what we've got here is another one of those community versus city management issues. The city can take the lead in managing its own resources, that is, replacing city vehicles as they reach the end of their life with electric or hybrid vehicles. The city works on putting out information about better insulation and things like that. But all the city can do here is to lead by example. Probably 9/10 of the carbon impact that the city has comes from residences, not the city itself. So what we can do there is to try to work with the state to try to obtain some offsets, some support for alternative energy saving devices, things like that. Anything that's going to work to minimize the generation of electricity, the need for more generation, or enhance the city's ability to, say, plant more trees for carbon sequestration, work on the sopping up of the carbon side of the equation. And the city can lead in those aspects, but we can't make the residents give up their F-150s for the sake of an electric Prius or something like that. We can't force people to install more insulation or energy efficient windows. We can help with perhaps getting some rebates or something like that if we can work with the state. But mostly the city just has to lead by example and show what works in our climate to assist with global warming and carbon.
Thank you very much. Well, that brings us to the end. You all are going to have 1 minute to summarize. And Ms. Moses, I'll start with you if you don't mind.
All right. Thank you all again. I think that with what we're facing in this town, whether it be water or the lack of affordable housing, access to resources that people need, protections for upcoming possible evictions and things in this growingly challenging economy, I think that we need to be able to address some of the barriers we faced thus far. I think that we need to be able to look some of these problems in the face and say, that is a bad behavior. Not being able to have a conversation about this without being able to conduct themselves in a way that understands that there are people who are not yet at the table, there are people who are waiting to have a voice, is unacceptable. We need to be aware that there are people who haven't had a chance to speak because of the posturing and the performance of victimization that often happens around legislation and science. So thank you again for the opportunity. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bettge, would you go next?
Sure. There are always going to be challenges facing a municipality, city of Moscow. It's like playing whack-a-mole. As soon as you get one popped, another one pops up elsewhere. So a mayor should be able to look at the challenges, prioritize the responses, and know how to get things done. And that's where I come in with a great many years of experience in city government and can address these issues right out the gate keep an eye out for future challenges coming over the horizon and deal with those, and hand the city off to the next administration and administrators in better shape than what we found it today. And what we have here today is great. We can keep going and get better.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gray, to you next, please. You need to unmute yourself, Mr. Gray.
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted there. I'm more of a doer than I am a talker. And conservation is the way we should go into the future, because we're using up everything. And a lot of stuff that we are thinking is going into the refuse is going into the oceans and going into the lakes and going into the streams. That's poisoned all the water that we have, whereby we have to do other things to get fresh water. So we need to do more than we're doing and overcome our situation for gluttony.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rathbun. We'll end with you.
Well, I don't have too much to say, but I think the future is good. I don't think we have to worry about too much. We got to get through some issues, and we're going to get through some issues if we work together and get over our issues with each other. But I think that everything is going to be fine, and the city of Moscow is going to prosper. It is a good place to invest in. It is a good place to live. And so I'll try and leave it on a positive note and not mention anything about having Trump flags thrown in my face.
Thank you very much. And I thank the candidates for their willingness to participate in this forum tonight. I thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring it. And I thank, last but not least, the folks who have attended will be listening to this on a recording. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Tomorrow night, we will have a similar forum with the city council candidates starting at 7 p.m. If you've thought of questions during tonight's event that you would like to send us for tomorrow's event, you can email us at moscow.league.questions2@gmail.com. For those on Zoom, I've put that in the chat, and you can find that email address on the League of Women Voters webpage as well. So we'll be back using the same link tomorrow night with our council candidates. Thank you again for attending, and thanks to our candidates and our excellent moderator.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You have a good evening too.